Look, the whole nation was shaken by the cold-blooded murder of 3 children and 3 adult school officials at the Covenant Presbyterian Church School in Nashville. Now, because the shooting hit so close to home for us here in Nashville, where we tape our show, we just can't ignore how it touched us. I don't know any of the victims personally, but Cindy Peak, the substitute teacher, the one who was killed, is the sister-in-law of a friend of mine with whom I've turkey hunted several times. And it turned out that she was also one of the closest friends of the First Lady of Tennessee, Maria Lee. In fact, they were supposed to have dinner together the very night she was murdered. I never give the name of a mass murderer in any of my media outlets. I just don't, because I have no desire to make a cold-blooded killer famous or to turn such a fiend into a celebrity. There was nothing but demonic derangement involved in this heinous crime. The names of the victims should be remembered, and we should especially remember Officer Rex Engelbert and Officer Michael Colazzo, the courageous Metro Nashville police officers. These 2 heroes rushed toward the gunfire, and they did it without shields, protective headgear, or tactical suits. And they took down the killer, which ended the rampage. They are true heroes. They acted without regard to risk to themselves, and they understood that the children in that school had no protection from the killer. Unlike the school shootings in Florida or Uvalde, Texas, where police officers waited until it was safe for themselves, these Nashville officers hurried toward the danger to stop the carnage. The killer was transgender, a biological female who had decided to identify as a male. But by the writings that she left behind, she was a very disturbed, angry, and bitter person who decided to take her vengeance out on 3 9-year-old children attending a Christian school, the headmaster of the school custodian, and a substitute teacher, all of whom died trying to protect those children. Despite attempts by radical leftists, transgender activists, and their stooges in the media, the killer was not some kind of victim. Her mass murders were not justified because some more rational people than her happened to work on some laws that protected children from being chemically castrated or surgically mutilated when they were too young to even understand what their actions would do. Her gunning down innocent people was not the fault of sane parents and legislators who think it unseemly that young girls would be expected to undress and shower with boys who are just pretending to be girls. The person who got the weapons, who wrote a detailed manifesto, and who killed out of rage and hate and mental illness and or a demonic spirit is the only one at fault, the only one. She put on full display the depravity of people who reject the ultimate teaching of Jesus to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Our hearts ache for the victims and their families. Our spirits are filled with gratitude for those courageous cops who literally stood between a psychopathic killer and helpless children and who put their lives in harm's way to protect the students and their teachers from being victims. And we have nothing but disgust and contempt for the politicians and the media morons who use the horrific shootings to push their failed political agenda, or worse, who even talked more about preferences for ice cream and joked about who was actually being targeted than to display genuine grief for the victims and their families. Everyone has an opinion about how to prevent these awful moments. For some, it's just banning what some politicians called assault weapons, even though most of those politicians don't even know what that means. For others, it involves more focus on mental health treatment and institutional placement for dangerous people. Let's be honest, none of us have all the answers. But the real answer is probably better understood by what is in our hearts rather than what is in our hands. I saw a statement this week that best summed it up. A rock in bad hands killed Abel. A rock in good hands killed Goliath. It's not about the rock. That is so very true. But the real hope of all is the Rock of Ages.